Hi, in today's video I'm going to be looking at w3m functions. If you open the user share doc w3m readme.func file with less, what you'll see is a list of all the functions in w3m and a description of what they do. Now when I was looking at this, something rang a bell. I'd seen this before. It wasn't the actual file, it was the layout. And then it struck me, if I open surf raw, you'll see this is exactly the same layout for an fzf menu, where we've got a command on the left, separated by some white space, and then a description of the function. So what I suddenly thought was, could we turn this readme.function file into an fzf menu and then search for these functions and then execute them within w3m? So that's what I did. So what I'm going to do now is open up w3m, howtogeek.com, and show this menu. I'm going to press dot comma on the keyboard, which is the keyboard shortcut I've created. Oop. Hang on. And you'll see we've now got that menu as an fzf menu, and we can search through it and execute commands. So if I want to go to the end of the page, I can type end, and it's taking me to the end. Type begin, and it's taking me to the beginning. So let's go through and see some of the things we can do with this. So what I'll do is I'll open up something with an image here. And I've got the cursor over the image, and I'm going to press the keyboard shortcut and search for image. And what I'm going to do is display image in viewer. And you can see that's opened the image up in SKIV, which is my image viewer that I've defined for w3m. So let me just quit that. I can do the same thing, I can save it. So I'll come across image and go save image. Save file to liquid cooling. Okay, complete. And that's saved the file. If I want to look at the source of the web page, I can do view. Toggle between HTML shown or processed. I can click back. If I want to show info on the page, I can type info. We've got the information, document type, style sheet, that sort of thing. So basically what I can do is I can execute all of the w3m functions using a keyboard shortcut, and then just type in the name of the function I want to execute within w3m. So let's have a look at some of the other functions we can do. If I want to open this web page in an external browser, I can type extern, and you can see it's now opened this page in Firefox. So I'll come back across here. Some of the other things I could do is I could look at the history. I could look at all the links on the pages, links. So I think there's something, link menu. You can pop up a link menu. Is that the one? So we can see here we've got a link menu. Press, I think we've got press. That's showing all the links here. So what other functions we got? We can open this page in a new tab. So tab. Let's search for tab. I think there's something. Open specified document in a new tab. So that should, I'm going to press return. You can see it's opened the that page in a new tab. I can close the tab. So close tab. Let's close the tab. So the advantage of this is you can define. There are loads of built-in keyboard shortcuts to execute the functions from within w3m. But the problem is there's loads of them, and you're going to have to remember all these different keyboard shortcuts and if you use a lot of other programs like Emacs, Xmonad, you just become overwhelmed with keyboard shortcuts for these different programs. So having a single keyboard shortcut that then brings up a menu where you can search for a command and just execute it is really helpful, because it means you don't have to remember all these keyboard shortcuts, and you've got a list in one place of all these things that you can do. So another thing I could do is I could save this page, save document source, save page to index.html. So I've saved the page there. We could look at our bookmarks, view bookmarks. You could add bookmarks, add bookmark. So I could add a bookmark for this current page. I won't do that. But that's how you could do it. We've got basically all the commands in w3m in one easy menu. And say we can move down a page, so we could go move down, move the cursor down, so or we could go next page. Next page. We can go to the end, beginning. So it's just much faster, and it's much more intuitive, and it's much more like using the command line, where you'll type out the name of a command you want to run. When you're using the terminal, you're not thinking, oh, what's the keyboard shortcut for this command or that command? You just type out the name of the command, which is much easier than having to remember loads of keyboard shortcuts. So what I'm going to do is actually show you how this works and how you can set this up, and the things you need to install and where you need to put them. So first of all, what I'm going to do is come across and come to the keymap file. Well, actually, no, I'm going to come across to the function file, w3m CGI bin functions. So what we've got here is a shell script. And first of all, we've got these two variables that I've created. The first one is called file, and that's the path to the README.func file. And so that's just copy that, open that with less. So that's this file. So what we're doing is, first of all, we're creating a variable that holds the location of that file. Now, the next thing we need to do is actually construct the FZF menu from that file. So what we've got is, if I switch back here, is we've got the name of a function, white space, and then the description. So basically we've got two things separated by white space. So the first issue is, which tool do we use to go through this page and extract stuff based on white space? And the answer would be awk. We're going to use awk because we can basically target sort of the first or second column separated by white space. So what we're going to do is we're going to use awk, and we're going to do print 0 file, and that's going to print out each line of the page, because what we need to be able to do is create an FZF menu where each of those lines is a separate item that we can search for. So that's the first thing we do. We take awk and we print each line out of that file, and then we pipe it into FZF with a new line delimiter, and then we say prompt run w3m function. So that's going to be the prompt that shows up. And we're setting an option called inline, which basically is a more compact layout. And then layout reverse puts the prompt at the top of the screen, and no multi basically means you can't select multiple commands to run, because that's not how w3m works. You can only specify one command to run at a time with the keyboard shortcut. So after we've done that, what we're doing is we're then piping that back into awk and saying print 1. And what that's going to do is, basically, when I bring up the this menu here, what you'll see is I can search something, so to exit. The reason why that hasn't quit is because w3m has an issue with the w3m image package, which sometimes causes w3m not to quit. So pkill w3m, so that's why that wasn't working on that particular page. But basically, what we want to be able to do is from that selection, we want to be able to select just the first item. So if I show you this page again here, for example, we've got abort and quit at once. So that's one line, which is basically comprised of the first column here, the separator, the white space, and the description here. So what we want to do is, when we're searching and we type abort, it matches this line, but we only want this bit here. We don't want the whole line. We just want abort. Yeah. So we'll type abort and it will match that line, but we then only want this bit of the line. And the way we do that is by printing 1. So what this does is it prints the whole file line by line into FZF. You then select something, and the selection it matches is going to be the whole line, but then we just match the first item, which is going to be the name of the command, and we store that in a variable called selection. Now at the bottom down here, what we have is we have 3 functions followed by a case statement. And the reason why we need to do this is because what we're going to do is actually modify some of the selections that you make. For example, the extern and extern link functions actually require an argument, which would be the name of the browser that you want to open, and we can't specify that in the menu, in the FZF menu. So what we're doing is we're using a case statement, and we're saying case selection, and selection is going to be the output of the FZF menu. So that's going to be whatever you've selected. That's why it's called selection. So you run the FZF menu, you select like abort, and abort is then going to be stored in the selection variable. We then use the case statement, and what we do is we then go through and we can match different function names and then execute particular functions to modify that text that's been selected. So what we've got here is extern and extern link, and then an asterisk, which stands for, is a wildcard that's going to stand for anything else that doesn't match. So first of all, it's important that we put these things before the wildcard, because otherwise they wouldn't be triggered. So what we're doing is we're saying, if you've selected extern, so let me show you here, extern, display using external browser. So what we want to do is, if someone has used the FZF menu and selected extern, what we need to do is then match that in the selection and then run a function called extern, which is up here. And in that, what we're doing is we're saying extern equals extern user bin firefox. And then what we do is we're echoing extern to the clipboard, which is using XL. And what we're doing is we're saying XL-I, which stands for accept standard input, because we're echoing something and piping it into XL. And we're going to copy it to the primary, secondary, and the clipboard. We're copying it to all 3 clipboards just for good measure. So what that's going to do is that's going to allow us to use that bit of code in the next script that we need to execute. So that's the first thing, is there are some functions that require an argument. And so what we're doing is we're actually intercepting those and modifying them on the fly, and providing the argument and then passing it off to another script. So we're doing the same thing with the external link here. We're saying external link equals external link user bin firefox, and then we're echoing the external link to the clipboard. And then basically what we're doing is with the asterisk, which is the wildcard, we're matching everything else, and then we're running this default function up here, and what that does is that echoes the selection to the clipboard. So the selection is going to be whatever you've chosen, like view source, show history, show links on the page. So basically, to recap, what this script does is, first of all, it takes the file, the readme.func file. It then creates a FZF menu from it, and the selection variable is going to hold the command that has been selected. We then use the case statement, check through the selection, and we can then match stuff in the case statement and then execute a custom function to manipulate the selection if it's needed. For example, with the external function, which, as I said, requires an argument. So when we match the external, we then run this function here. We match the external link. We match this function here, and then for everything else, we run the default function, which is going to echo the selection to the clipboard. So that's the function. Now what I'll do is I'll show the keymap here. So down at the bottom, what we've got is the keymap, the key that we're creating, the keyboard shortcut, which is comma, which is dot and then comma, and you need to specify that separated by a dash. So dot comma is going to open the functions prompt, and what we're doing is we're saying run command and then read shell and the path to that functions.cgi script I just showed you. We then go back a buffer, and this is the interesting bit. We then have to use the go-to command, which is actually used for going to a URL, but we're saying go to this script, which is this run command script, and this script has to go in the user lib w3m CGI bin directory. You can create a CGI directory in your home folder, w3m CGI bin here. Now the difference is what we're going to be doing in this next script, which I'll show you here. So this is the second script that we're going to be running, and basically it's one line of code. And what we're saying is printf w3m control command and a subshell running excel with -o psb. And basically what this is going to do is this is going to send a command to the w3m browser to run the command function and then the name of the function that we selected with the menu. So if we've selected view source, this would say command view. And so basically what this is doing is this is outputting the contents of the clipboard. It's going to replace this bit of code with the contents of the clipboard. And as I showed you when I was showing you the functions script, we copy the selection to the clipboard. So we copy the name of the function that we've selected, whether it's view, history, or whatever, to the clipboard. And then in this, what it's going to do is it's going to tell w3m, okay, run the command, and then the name of the command, so it'd be like command view, command history. So that's the second script. And to be able to use this w3m control thing, you can't execute this from a script in your home directory. It has to be in this user lib w3m CGI bin, and you can't execute it directly from a keyboard shortcut. So you can't run a keyboard shortcut and directly run this script. You have to go to this script. So let me switch back to the keymap. So with the keymap, what we do is we first of all run the first script, the functions script, which took the functions file, created the menu, and then copied our selection of our command to the clipboard. We then have to go back a buffer, and then we run go-to, and this is what had me stumped for ages. I just couldn't get it to work. You have to run go-to, and then the path to the next script, which I just showed you, is the one that issues this w3m control instruction to the browser, and then the actual command, and this would be replaced with the name of the command. And then what we have to do is we have to go back a buffer. And the reason for all this is that we need to actually execute the command on the page we're on. So let me just open this up. Let me just come to another. So when I run this command like view to view the source, we need to actually make sure we're on that particular page when we run the command, because let me just show you. Sorry, switch back here. I want a keymap. Sorry, keymap. Right, keymap. So first of all, what happens is when you run the first script, it's actually going to create a temporary buffer showing the output of this shell command that we've run. So what we need to do is go back. We run the first script and then we go back. Then we run the second script, which executes that command to control w3m from the script. And we have to go back again to make sure that it's executing it on the actual page we were on. So that's the two bits. So the important thing is that you can't put the this bit of code here, this print w3m control command in the first script. You can't actually run that from the functions.cgi script in your home directory from a keyboard shortcut. It won't let you do that. So what we have to do is we haven't got a way to what we need to be able to do is actually get these two scripts to talk to each other. And the way we're doing that is by using the clipboard. So the first script, this function script, as I say, that stores our selection and then copies it to the clipboard. And then this script, we go to this script here and it's pasting in the clipboard. So the first script is copying it, and then in the second script we're pasting it, and then that's how we can actually sort of connect the two scripts, because this second script wouldn't know about any variables in the first script. So that's how we can get around that issue and actually execute commands. So that's how it works and some of the issues. So what I'll do is I'll just come across here to the sort of setup notes. So there's basically 3 steps. First of all, you need to edit your keymap file, which is in your home directory, w3m keymap. And this is the bit of code that we're going to put into create the keyboard shortcut and then execute the scripts. So that's the first step. The second step is creating the functions.cgi file. So we create that in w3m cgi -bin functions.cgi, and then we'd add this chunk of code here. And the next really important thing is we have to make that script executable with changed +x and the path to the script. If you don't do that, it's not going to run. And now the third part is creating the run commands.cgi script, which should be in userlib w3m cgi -bin run_command.cgi. and basically that's going to consist of this bit of code, and it's a shell script, so it's portable. It's not bash or anything, and this basically runs the w3m command from the clipboard. So you save that file to that location, and again you need to make it execute with sudo changemod +x and the full path to the script. So it's very easy to set up. Just basically editing your keymap file to add one line, creating the functions.cgi script, making it executable, making the run command CGI script, putting it into place and making it executable, and that's it. And once you've done that, if I switch back to this, we've then got our prompt. So we've got a list of all the functions in w3m, and we can just execute them by typing names. So we can, if we want to go to let's see, it will say go to, it's just doing that because I'm on the current page, but if I do go to relative address, go to line, follow current link in a new buffer. If you escape out of it, you'll see it says like command here, and that's what would be run if you had selected something, pressed return. But if you don't want, you just press return here, and it's just going to cancel out. So some of the useful things we can do abort, quit, exit, add bookmark. We can do back to go back a page. We can view our bookmarks. So bookmarks, view the bookmarks. Add bookmarks. Let's see some of the other things we can do. You can center the cursor, change the character set, close a tab as I showed you before. We can bring up little thing that says command, and you can just type in command. So if I wanted to type a command here, I could just type help. Okay, I could type help from here, so I can just type help. It's going to show the help. Some other things we can do. We can view the cookie list, define a key, delete buffers, dictionary, display images I showed you. No, that's redrawing images, I think. We can scroll the screen down, we can save the document, we can show the download list. Sometimes that doesn't work actually. You can edit the local source. So if you're viewing a local web page with w3m, you can edit it. We can go to the last line, go to the beginning. What other things can we do? We can execute a shell, so execute shell, just like list, for example. Let's say we've got extern and extern links. So if I type, if I run extern, that's going to open the page in Firefox. And again, the way we did that is if I switch back to this is how we did that. We had the selection, so the selection would be extern, and then the case statement, we matched extern, and then run the extern function where we set extern to equal extern user bin Firefox, and then we echoed extern to the clipboard. And in the second script, we then execute the w3m control command extern function, and then that opens the link in Firefox. So that's how that works. Want to do that? So let's have a look at some other things. Say exit external link. Go to, we got the help, history, info. Oops. And what else have we got down here? You go to the beginning of the line, end of line, open a new file in a buffer. We can pop up the menu. So you want the menu to come up, main menu. What other stuff have we got? Some of this I haven't tried, like marks, marking. You've got stuff to move down. You can do new tab, so open new tab with current document. So there, we've got the new tab. We want to close that tab, close tab. So it's just a lot easier than having to remember the loads of different commands to open tabs, close tabs, that sort of thing. You just got one keyboard shortcut to remember. So let's have a look at some of the other stuff we can do down here. So we can go next buffer, next down, move to the next hyperlink, page down. We can show the current address, so peak will show the current address down here. And we've also got peak image, so we can show the image address. So let me scroll down over an image. Is it crashed? No. Okay, so over an image, peak image, and yeah, you can see it's showing the image link there. As I said, image, we can view the image in a viewer. So you can see it's opening the image in SKIV. Press Q to quit that. What I can save the image. Save the image. Some of the other stuff we can do. Okay, let me just come down, see if there's any other things to cover. You can pipe shell, pipe buffer, previous buffer, previous link, all that kind of stuff. Save the rendered document, quit, read shell, redraw, reload, reshape, save document source that I've shown you, save image, save links. You can also do search, you can bring up search. So I can search for something, VPN. It's already come up to the top and do it again. Search, it brings up the search prompt, so just type VPN and take me to that. So let's come through and see if there's anything else I need to cover with this. We've got all the search functions. Select is going to show I think it shows got select and select menu. Select, okay, yeah, so that's a sort of thing that lets you select different pages or URLs. Select menu. We've got the select menu there. D to delete buffer. Okay. And there's some other stuff down the bottom. If I just scroll down. Okay. So we've got source. So we can either type view or source. It does the same thing. It will show you the web page source. Tab go to, so open a specified document in a new tab. Undo, up, version, view bookmarks, view image, wrap toggle. So those are all the functions. And as you see, w3m, sometimes you need to kill it. It's the w3 image. But what I also want to show you is in this script, what I'm going to do is also show you fzf-tmux. What this will allow you to do is set the FZF menu be a split menu, so you'll have a split pane. So if I change this to height 40%, okay, I need to see, still working here. You'll see it's now, the menu's 40%. It's not the full screen. But But what I needed to do was actually run tmux before I ran that. So if I run tmux and then w3m and then bring up the menu, you'll see that the menu now is in a split pane in tmux. So what we can do is go like end, and it goes to the end, like beginning, begin, and it takes you to the beginning. So you can actually have a sort of split window and have the sort of prompt show up at the same time as the web page, which is quite handy. And tmux. And the fzf-tmux application is installed when you install fzf, and you can basically specify a height, as I've shown you. And if you're not running tmux, it'll still work, but it will, as I've shown, it will take the you put the height in here, it will have a smaller height in FZF when you're using it normally. There is, come across here, I think there's a thing, fzf-tmux. What you can do is add in some, I think you can add some variables. I think that's the script. And this version is newer than the one that ships with Ubuntu. The new script has a P option which lets you create a pop-up window. And I'm not sure if I've got I think my tmux version is might be free. I'm not sure. Let me see. Tmux version or search tmux. I think mine might be free. Yeah. So my version of tmux is too old to run the newest version of this script, which allows you to create a pop-up window. And what you can do, I think there's something, anything in the wiki. I think there's something in here. Basically, you can put in a set of options in your. It's got a variable fzf-tmux options or something. Yeah, I can't remember where I saw it, but basically there's a you can put in a series of options in your ZSH or bashosi or ZSH environment file to create a pop-up menu using fzf-tmux, but I can't remember where I saw the options. And it'd be something like dash p. Oh fuck! Like dash p height, and then sort of like dash width, sort of 40%. It's something like that. And you can put these options in this fzf tmux options variable in your shell config file, and it will create a pop-up window. But as I said, my version of tmux is too old, and the version of fzf-tmux that I've got installed doesn't have the dash p option. But that's how you can change the script to either create a sort of split pane when the menu shows up, or in a pop-up menu. But the only issue is you actually have to start tmux before you start w3m, otherwise it doesn't work. But that's another thing that you can do, is create a sort of pop-up menu or a split menu. You can do the split on the left or the right, top, bottom, set the height and width. So that's another thing that you can do if you're a tmux user, is to change the fzf menu to use fzf-tmux and then run tmux and then w3m. So that's basically how we turned where's the flipping this file into a fzf menu for w3m, so that we can execute all of these commands really easily using one keyboard shortcut to just make things much easier and more usable. So again, if I come across, give it a second to open up. And I said, you know, I can just go to the end of the document if I want. I can go to the beginning. Again, if I want to view this, I can just do view image, bang, opens up an SKIV. I want to save it, save image, bang, save image. You know, it's just much faster. I want to see my bookmarks, bang, bookmarks, view bookmarks, add a bookmark. It's just much more convenient having to remember loads of commands. And the other thing is, if you trying to remember commands via the keyboard shortcuts, it's kind of abstract. Whereas this way, you're presented with a list of all the things you can do and what they can do, and then all you have to do is type the name of the thing you want to run. So it's much more like using the terminal, where you'd actually, you know, type something out that you want to do, as opposed to, you wouldn't in the terminal, you wouldn't, like, if you wanted to list something, you wouldn't do some abstract keyboard shortcut and another weird keyboard shortcut to you know, do something else. You'd type out the command. So it's just much more intuitive. You know, go back, end, beginning. It's much more direct, the way you're interacting with it, rather than sort of having to remember a shitload of commands for loads of different programs. You've just basically got a list of all the functions you can execute, and you just type the thing that you want to do. So it's much simpler. I want to view the page source, just do view, bang, like that. Or I could do source. That's the same thing. I want to save the document, save document source. Yeah. So it's a much nicer way of using w3m, and it's easy to set up. And again, I'll just come across and show you the scripts as a recap. Got the file variable, takes in that this file. That takes in this file, which is the perfect format for an FZF menu, as it turns out. We then create the menu from it and type the file into FZF and extract the first column, which is going to be the name of the command, and sort in selection. We then go through the case statement of everything in the selection, and then we can basically match stuff. So as I said, we match the extern and the external extern link, and the wildcard catches everything else. And the order is important. You've got to put the things. You can't put the wildcard first, because otherwise it'll catch everything. So we match these things that require options. As I said, the extern function requires the name of a browser, so we match extern, then we run the extern function up here, where we basically say extern equals extern user bin Firefox. So if you've got a different browser you want to use, just change that to Chromium or Brave or whatever browser you like. And the same with the external links. So there may be some functions that require arguments, and if that's the case, this is how you can get around it and reformat it. And then basically what it does is it copies either, for the default, it copies the selection to the clipboard, or otherwise these ones are the modified ones. So it pipes it into Excel with the -i option for the standard input, PSB for all the clipboards, and then in the second script, what we're doing is we're running w3m control command, and this is replaced with the output of the clipboard. So if we've selected exit or view or history or whatever in the FZF menu, that's copied to the clipboard. In this second script, it then dumps the output of the clipboard and then runs that particular command that you've selected. And if I come back to the keymap file here, again, you can see, as I said, we create the keymap, we run command, and again, the important thing is we run the read shell and the path to first script with the function script. Okay, so that's the function script I've just been showing you. And you can see this doesn't have any w3m control stuff in it, and that's because it doesn't work if you put it in this particular file. If you try and run the keymap, if you run the keymap and it executes this file with read shell, and you put in like a bit of code like this, it will just display that in the terminal. It won't do anything. So actually, you can't. It doesn't seem like you can run w3m control directly from the first script, especially not one that's in your home directory, in your home w3m CGI bin directory. We have to use this first script to copy stuff to the clipboard, and then we go back a buffer, and then we run go-to. And as I said, go-to is normally for like going to a URL or something, so you wouldn't think that you'd use it here. You'd think you'd use read shell, but you actually have to use go-to, and we tell it to go to this script, and in that script we then can run w3m control command and the name of the command that we've selected. And then finally we have to go back a buffer so that the command actually gets executed on the correct page. So that's basically everything, and that's the fzf-tmux thing that you can do as well to create a pop-up if you're a tmux user. So have a look at that, and also search for the fzf-tmux options variable that lets you specify the options you want to run with tmux, fzf-tmux. So again, that was basically the setup, creating the keymap, adding that file, creating the functions file, adding the code, making it executable. Same deal with the run command script that I described before, creating it, putting the code in and making it executable. And once you've done that, you'll basically have the pop-up menu, and as I said, if you want to edit this, you can basically change the name of the browser that you use. And although you have in your w3m config, you will have an external, you may have an external browser defined. If we just run the extern command, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't pick up the option in your configuration file. So if you've got an external browser defined as Firefox, and you just run the command extern, it won't do anything. And what you can do is you can bring up this command prompt by pressing escape C, and that's the command prompt. So if I just type extern, see, it doesn't do anything. So that's why we needed to create this case statement and these functions to change extern to equal extern in the path to the browser. So that's why we need to do that. And as I said, there may be some functions that require an argument, and if that's the case, what we need to do is actually create another item in the case statement to match them, and then another function, and then you can reformat the output and then copy the command with the option to the clipboard, and it will then get run with this script. So that's how it all works, and it's a bit complicated in some places. As I said, the way you need to do this read shell, go back, and then go to the script and go back, took a while to figure out how to actually get it to work, and that you needed to use that particular permutation of commands to actually get it to run. Took a while to go through all the different permutations to actually come to the one that works, and to get it all running. So that's basically how you can have a nice FZF prompt for w3m that will let you execute all of the functions in w3m just by fuzzy matching. So help, and it's just much easier to be presented with a list of all the commands that you can run, and then just type the one that you want to use, as opposed to trying to remember what all the keyboard shortcuts are and what they then actually do. It's just a more intuitive way of using it, and is much more like using the terminal. So again, that's basically how we turned a text file of a list of functions and their descriptions into an FZF menu using awk and FZF and a few other tools like case statements and functions to enhance w3m and make it a bit more usable. And just go back. I'm going to type back there, and in just makes it much more usable and a lot quicker, in my opinion, to use, and also it's going to another advantage is there's not so much keyboard movement, so it's not so much strain on the hand, or loads of different keyboard combinations and that kind of thing. So probably good for repetitive strain injury and that sort of thing. So that's all for now, and that's how just looking at the functions file suddenly gave me the idea that where have I seen that before, and realizing that that layout was perfect for an FZF menu. And the challenges were, figuring out how to use awk to extract, the command here, and then to actually copy it to the clipboard, and then execute the command using a second script. So those are some of the challenges of actually going from this to this, and what it took to actually get there. So hopefully that's going to be useful to you and make using w3m a bit more bearable, and a bit less strain on your hands.